Welcome to Threat Intel Weekly. My name is Josh Bacon. We're here at Volta. We're back presenting the big stories from cybersecurity this week. We got Andrew, Tracy, Michael, Akila, and Chase. Um, let's just get right into it. It's been a couple weeks and we got a lot of stuff to talk about. So first of all, I'm sure you guys saw GTA 6. This is probably the biggest game leak that's happened to me in my lifetime. Personally, I know Half-Life 2, it leaked the exact same way back in the day, back in like 2002, probably 20 years ago. So maybe this guy is like it, and he comes back every 20 years and just leaks some big game. So, but turns out this kid is 17, which is kind of impressive. He ended up being one of an associate of Lapsus, and pretty much the moment he leaked and got any sort of infamy, they all put his picture and name out there because Lapsus is not really a money and reputation based ransomware group. They just like to have fun, I guess. And really just like the fame is kind of what they're attracted to. But this is kind of important because it emphasizes the point that a 17-year-old can get access to something like Uber and Rockstar. And the reason for that is not because, he's some super genius, 1700 IQ, born uh, in the Arctic, training his entire life to be a hitman. He's just some normal 17-year-old, and he got access to it through relatively low technical skill attacks that were mostly just social engineering. It was the exact same thing with Twitter a couple years ago when Obama, Elon, all of those people got hacked. It was some teenager who was just good at social engineering and lying to people that could get internal credentials and use that to compromise the system as a whole. In this case, with GTA 6 being leaked in Rockstar, he got internal credentials and then just kept sending the MFA push until the guy on the other end just hit accept because he was tired of it, which works somehow. That's it almost feels like security classes have no reason anymore when stuff like that works. Uh, do you guys see this? Do you all have any thoughts on this?
I just think this really emphasizes that people do need to take like training for phishing and social engineering and MFA fatigue a lot more seriously. Like some people like are just going to do stuff, but I really think that training needs to be emphasized more.
Yeah.
There's just not enough training.
I mean, it gets a little. I mean, I'm not going to vouch for these people, but when you have a job that's non-technical, if you're customer support or if you're one of the other things, you have a lot of things on your mind already, and it's quickly becoming apparent that you also need to have cybersecurity on your mind if you have access to any company resources. So the people that you're trusting as your employees, uh, that also matters quite a bit. We do things like fish ER and know before training for phishing. Oftentimes, if you can run employees through the gambit first and just give them that mental exercise of this is what phishing looks like, this is what someone malicious trying to get access to credentials looks like, they're far more likely to spot it in real world and act on that. So yeah, we all get to see GTA 6 though, and that's pretty cool at least.
Yeah.
It
I
looks.
also, sorry, Josh. I
No, you
just
go
wanted to
ahead.
throw out there that with like email filtering and everything, you can't filter everything out. But if you really do believe in least privilege, that can help cut down on these kind of attacks a lot. So
Yeah.
even if they get creds, they only have a limited scope of what they can get.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I don't actually know the role of the guy who was compromised at Rockstar, but I would feel a lot worse as a CISO if it was, like the janitor who got his credentials compromised and he ended up having access to the entire development server. So obviously, yeah, rule of least privilege always. Defense in depth, make sure that you have uh, multiple applications checking this kind of traffic, VPN traffic from external sources, oftentimes can be validated and whitelisted down to a couple select sources. So
You
moving
should
on.
also use separate accounts for administrators. So
Yes, yes, there's about 1,000 things Rockstar did wrong here, and they're definitely feeling the heat for this. Speaking of companies doing something wrong here, the Uber CISO was convicted. So I could give the spiel on this. Does anyone else want to? I hear myself talk a lot. All right, I'll do it. This is basically what goes wrong when you have a bug bounty program, but a secret one only for yourself. So Teapot Uber Hacker, um, interesting name. He actually gets it from being the guy who hacked both Rockstar and Uber. Uh, the way he hacked Uber, like I said, super low skill, low technical attack of social engineering. When this breach was brought to the CISO, instead of revealing the breach, it was a breach of customer information, personally identifying information. Instead of revealing this to his customers and telling the customers there's been a breach, offering credit monitoring, a lot of the things these companies will do, he kept it secret, right? And decided to keep it under wraps. He accepted the exploit through the bug bounty program, paid the hackers about $100,000 and made them sign an NDA to keep quiet. Now, obviously, this is not what you want to do if you're in charge of a lot of customer data. Um, Maybe the main thing I would recommend is telling people who are affected by this first, but certainly paying them to keep quiet was that extra step that led to his conviction. So I personally I don't feel bad for this guy. Does anyone else feel for him or no? Okay, I want to give alternate opinions on this.
Uber and a lot of their executives that kind of have a history of shady behavior and downright illegal practices that have been revealed over time.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
doesn't surprise me.
that's not a controversial statement at all. There's been books written by people who were in the first couple months and years of Uber being created, where they're doing some very, very cutthroat industry maneuvers in order to get uh, basically the entire industry from the cab departments, from cabbies and taxi drivers, creating regulations that put them at an advantage in a lot of these big cities. So yeah, no one's surprised they were doing shady stuff, but it is kind of surprising to see such a large data breach not taken that seriously, weirdly. Or like how would you not think that this would come back eventually?
Yeah.
Like the moment when, yeah, the moment one of your customers logs into the deep web and like gets on like exploit.de or something and sees like the form all Uber customer data for sale, that's gonna that's gonna be quite a news story. Speaking of all Uber customer data for sale, if you were on one of those exploit forums recently, you might have seen all of Indonesia and their data for sale. Literally the entire country. They had, I guess, just a permission issue where this data was pretty much publicly accessible through like a directory. I'm not quite sure of the exact nature of the exploit. They did pass some legislature to make their cybersecurity infrastructure better, but apparently that just made it worse. So yeah, they kind of ended up doing the thing where you release a patch for something that doesn't get updated very often, but then everyone just reverse engineers the patch and figures out, okay, now there's this exploit that I can use on everybody. But I digress. Everyone's data is for sale now. And I almost kind of feel like this is just the future, right? Like it's only a matter of time before one of the companies that you've signed up for has had a breach. I, I can't really think of a situation that you would be safe forever. Once your data is out there and on the internet, it's a target. So, has anyone actually got their data breached recently? Has anyone gone to Have I Been Pwned and found anything weird?
I
Yeah,
looked recently and I've only seen one thing, but it was like some rando like account from like back in high school that doesn't matter. So
Yeah, like
I've
web.
I've had three accounts for various different services be breached at different times. I mean, been warned about them all. I've had free credit reporting for a very long time.
Yeah, God. You know that guy, this super quick aside, that Life Alert guy who put his social security number on the
Yeah,
truck.
of course he got.
Yeah, no, he's gotten his data stolen like 9 times. He's got he just keeps getting his identity stolen. He's like SpongeBob at this point. But yeah, we data breaches are going to happen to everyone. The best you can do is make it a little easier when it does happen to you. I definitely have made the mistake before when crypto was becoming a big thing. I signed up for like 2 or 3 marketplaces and exchanges, and obviously every time you do that, you got to give them a bunch of personal banking information. And now crypto isn't that big, and I have just all that banking information sitting out there on exchanges that their only assets at this point are personal information because they're not making money off of crypto anymore. So when these companies go under, you just have to realize that, your social security number, your email, this is the couch in the lobby that they have to sell to another company in order to liquidate their assets. So at some point, this stuff will be leaked. But besides that, the guy who did this, his name is Bjorka. He claims to do this for like Robin Hood reasons, which is kind of the weird part of this story. Yeah, no, I agree, Michael. I mean, it started with I leaked all this data, and then he put it up for sale. And then he said, I did this so that Indonesia can recognize how poor their cybersecurity industry is. But it's, why don't you just tell someone on the inside? Now he did it for money, of course, yeah. It's a little weird trying to see some of these hackers acts like they're altruistic.
Put themselves
Um,
up on a pedestal.
yeah,
They're these white knights coming to hack us and steal our information.
yeah. I'll say it firsthand. Like I'm a hacker. I have a huge ego, right? That's like the main thing that you have when the first time you ever like pop a box and you hit "Who am I?" and it says root, right? You'll never feel the same again, right? That's like heroin. It's like chasing the dragon at that point forward. So I'll say it. I have a huge ego, but some of these hackers have unbelievable egos. And this Bjorka guy seems to think he's Robin Hood, but in actuality, he's just kind of the Joker. So that's fantastic. If you are in Indonesia, though, sorry about that. Good luck. I mean, the most I could say is here in America, we have Equifax, so we're not doing much better. Um,
I'm not. I don't think we've talked about this on Threat Intel before, but there was a city in Japan where a city worker lost like it was a whole bunch of personal data of a bunch of people that lived in the city because he put it on a flash drive to take home with him,
When
and then he lost the
drinking
flash drive.
Yeah.
in a
I think
bar.
somehow they ended up finding this flash drive. I have no
Someone,
idea how, but
I think
it's
someone
crazy.
found it and plugged it in, realized what it was, and turned it into like the proper place.
Maybe, yeah.
But who
Exactly.
knows, like if
He
he
was
didn't
drunk.
like make a copy, or who knows what happened.
Yeah, we have whenever we do backup solutions for customers here at Volta, we actually have a contingency plan where if you are physically like moving your DR place, your disaster recovery spot, your cold storage, and your only copy of the data is the one you're bringing with you, we want to upload another one to the cloud in case you get in a car wreck.
Yeah.
Because I know it sounds horrible and it sounds, like why would that happen? But if that were to happen when you're on the way, that's all the data. It's gone.
Yeah.
You don't really think of these physical vectors as ways to lose a lot of data, but it absolutely can be.
I mean,
Um,
if you're moving the drives on like a cart across a parking lot, the vibration can kill drives. Like
yeah, yeah. There's
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 just so many little things.
there's a bunch of things. I mean, this is extremely tangential, but I watched a video recently. I don't know if anyone knows Nick Robinson on YouTube. He was basically trying to save a Pokemon that got deleted 20 years ago by decompiling the cart and finding the actual hex code for the Pokemon and reviving it. It was a whole thing. But what he was scared of, because he was meeting the guy to do it, it was a guy across the country, but he was scared that when the guy went through airport security and they scanned his cart, that could essentially fuzz the cart and lose data on it, right? So there's millions of ways to lose data in this world. Obviously, power outages, not having a UPS, or just thinking that you're backing up to something that's not actually backing up. That could probably be the worst one.
Have an
But
off-site DR facility, and for going back to the Japanese thing, DLP policies.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. So one last this is kind of a smaller story. This is not really one of the big things that happened over the last weeks, but it's interesting to bring up. So there's an NPM timing attack that could lead to a supply chain attack. So this attack to describe it simply, whenever you search for an NPM package that's private, that creates a dependency from another package, if you don't have access to it, it'll just give you a 404, right? It's a private package, but there's like a 3 millisecond difference, right? And if it's a real package or if it's a fake one, right? So the system will check and it'll be like, all right, that's a real package, but they don't have access to it. So give them a 404. That takes like 2 milliseconds longer. So because of that, you could just spray NPM and find all of the private packages. So we're in a bit of a tricky situation with NPM right now where there might be some supply chain attacks coming up. If you have any NPM dependence projects, I don't say rip them out right now, but definitely keep an eye on them. Make sure that you have SIM tools running to track the traffic between these things. Every time we have Exchange server vulnerabilities, I pretty much say the same thing. Just make sure you're looking at it occasionally and you're saying, is this doing what a computer is supposed to be doing? Because any little odd occurrences can be a sign that something odd might be going on. So just keep your eyes open. The NPM timing attack, I don't think that's gotten out of the research lab yet. I think that's still something that they're working on developing an active exploit for, but it could be a sign of unfortunate things to come. So does anyone have anything to finish up with this week? All right, perfect. This has been Volta. I'm Josh. Please stay safe. Keep your eyes open. If anything has scared you this week or you need any assistance with anything security-wise, please contact us. We're very good at what we do, and we will be back next week to give you some more stories. Thank you so much.